Off we go. Podcast, guys.
I've got nervous now. My hands are sweating.
Clammy farms.
My hands are sweating. What's going on? It's time. Right, okay. Am I doing it? Am I going then?
You're going.
Am I going? Where do I put my glass? I'm nervous, Robbie.
Get your water. I'll get my Diet Coke. Come on. Let's go.
Right,
Who are we?
Who are we?
What do we do?
I'm nervous, mate.
We're just normal people.
No, that's all it is. So welcome to the Northern Runners podcast. With me, Jonathan.
And me, Danielle, also like to be called Elle.
Yeah,
AKA the Blonde Runner.
I always found it bizarre that because I've always known you as Danielle.
No, it's my naughty name, Jonathan.
But whenever you've like referenced yourself as Elle, I'm like, what are you on about?
It's Elle. No, the Blonde Runner, or you like calling me Blonde Robot, whichever you want.
Bit of a robot.
Yeah.
So, what's the podcast about?
Podcast, just everyday things, normal people doing normal life, working life, peasant life.
Peasant life. trying to run around the peasant life.
And trying to run around peasant life, which we love.
That's pretty much it.
Trying to be athletes.
It is, and because in the world of Instagram and social media and your favourite TikTok, the world's perfect in it. Everyone's rapid, everyone's doing 220 marathons and they're doing 30-minute 10Ks
goals.
And all that type of thing. And goals, yeah. But that just isn't everyday people, is it? That's not a recreational runner. That's your elite athletes. But it's unfortunate that the elite athletes is what we see.
Yeah, it's who we aspire to be.
Yeah,
I honestly think I'm going to be one day.
Yeah, I'm going to be in that. I'm going to be in that championship
I'm
section.
going to be doing things in like Dubai, and I'm going to be running there in the winter. And
no, as a Wigan lad, that's too hot for me, Dubai. The canals is exotic.
Canals. Yeah, so just normal people trying to be as professional as we can.
Yeah.
And trying to do everything, ticking every box, so that we can get the most out of and push our bodies and get the most out of what we can do.
So we both know we both come from different backgrounds in terms of sporting life and stuff like that, but we're both quite similar in terms of what we aspire. And I think that's why it's important to have these chats and talk about, like I said, everyday life and trying to run businesses around working and trying to have families and children, all that type of stuff around running. It's what normal people do.
Yeah.
So what was your initial background?
My initial background, I've come from riding ponies, horses. I competed for England when I was at school. So again, always been in that professional setting of, horses, they have the physio and we go competitions at weekend, we work hard in all weathers. My mum and dad used to chuck me on ponies, right, when I was like 12-year-old in the freezing rain. And as well as, it was really good, to be fair, just going back to, I probably really sound old now, but as a deterrent, because I was a really good girl in school, because if I was ill, I was definitely ill because I couldn't go to my ponies, which was all I wanted to do.
You couldn't do your ponies and not go to school. You had to do both.
So I had to behave, whereas, we could get on to kids now, like, they're not always well behaved because there's no deterrent.
Gen Z though, innit? You can't do anything wrong with Gen Z.
So I had a hobby, I had a sport, which me being me took it to extreme, and did the whole Great Britain thing and stuff. Full shebang.
So
got to be done.
Transferable there, isn't it, in terms of the running scenario? So skip yourself forward however many years it is that there where you talk about being out in all weathers. Obviously, the whole point of us being the Northern Runners. It's grim up north, isn't
it? We get all weathers.
It's grim up north, isn't it? So when it's freezing and it's -8 outside and you're going ice skating, it's sort of taking you back to that, isn't it?
Most of winter.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's still full enough.
It's
been
today,
snowing
actually,
full enough. But it's important to try and get them interlinked and what you've done previously and how that sort of changes a person.
I think it's definitely helped me, obviously, go from that sport to, I think it would help with any sport, especially running, because I'm not a fair weather runner. I do it whatever it takes.
You
just get a bit hard and maybe a bit, I don't know, insane.
A bit screw loose.
Because you
get to that point, don't you, where you say it's not I'm going to go for a run tonight, it's I have to run. It's part of my schedule. I go to work whatever time, I come out whatever time, put little into bed, do this, right, I've got to go for my run. Torrential downpour outside, 60 mile an hour winds. I've still got to go and do me.
And again, that boils down to that background of being, you're not always like motivated to do it. Listen, I can't. I'm freezing all the time.
Yeah.
Since I've gone through a fat loss phase, because obviously I was little bit chubby,
which we'll
on
get.
chubbier
We
side.
both have.
But we'll get
we'll
get into that in a bit. But yeah, I was a little bit chubby. Since I've gone into a fat loss phase, I am freezing constantly. So the motivation to go out is just not there. But it boils down to discipline.
Yeah.
You get it done, because it's not worth the anxiety afterwards of actually not getting it done, because then that's something that my chimp, we'll go into the chimp as well, my chimp would say that's the reason you've not got that time.
Yeah.
So
it's your preloaded excuse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically.
So yeah, it was that sort of my background transferred. But you tell me a bit about yours, where have you come from?
Yeah, so
what's your name, what do you do?
Yeah, what's your name? Hi, I'm Jonathan, I'm 20 or whatever. So yeah, I was a swimmer. I was a competitive swimmer from being a really young age all the way through to my sort of mid-late teens and stuff like that. In terms of transferable, I think it's massively transferable to where I am. I had a massive gap in between finishing swimming and starting running. But the running for me has almost sort of taken me back to that mindset where if you ever have swam, you're alone with your thoughts for a long time, and it's just up and down and up and down. It's a bit like
usually drowning me when I swim.
Yeah, I think from my background, if I drowned, I wouldn't get very far. But, and yeah, I think you sort of got to, with any sort of distance running especially, you've got to have that switch in your head where you can just turn it off. And you turn it off, you settle into it, and off you go. And it's a bit like that with swimming, and the amount of times you'd be doing your set and you go, how many lengths am I on?
Yeah.
What distance have I done? You've no count, because you just have to turn your head off. As you well know, I'm a ridiculously competitive person.
Oh, the most insanely competitive person I have ever met in my life.
With absolutely anything.
And anyone.
Anyone, yeah, taking on anything, anyone, madly competitive. And I think that was one thing that I loved when I got into running. Is I'd not had that for such a long time. When I left swimming, I didn't have that competitiveness.
That's the addiction, though.
That's exactly it for me. And like my wife was mad because I booked this race this weekend. Why? I just fancy it. I just fancy doing it. Like, I'm not trained, I just fancy doing it, because you just need that buzz of competing. And then I remember doing a 10k with a mate of mine a few months back, and I'd said to her at the start line, like, pick someone. She went, what do you mean? She said, pick someone you're going to beat. She's like, but I don't know what anyone's like. I said, I do. I said, I'm going to beat this lad here. And I recognised, I remembered him because he had a tattoo on his calf. Anyway, off we went, and on 9k he started coming past me, and I was flagging. I was on my knees, and I thought,
doesn't stop you though, does it?
No way, on God's green earth he's beating me. And off I went. And that definitely takes you back to my swimming stuff. Because I was the same with that. I'd get on blocks and I'd be like, I'm not losing.
Doing it. So what age did you actually stop, say, swimming?
So I think I stopped around sort of 17, thereabouts.
Right.
And to be honest with you, it was a typical...
And you're only 21 now, aren't you?
Yeah. still get ID. No, I'm not 21. I'm
he wishes.
I'm pushing 30. I'm not quite there. I'm nudging it. But yeah, it was a typical thing with me where you get to 17 and the ultra committed make it. But that ultra committed means...
No girls.
Giving up your nuts.
No
drink. The lads, no drinking. Because the training was so intense, isn't it? So intense. 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, Friday to Sunday and all that type of stuff. Monday to Sunday and all that, your competitions every weekend. And to be honest with you, I got to that age and I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. And as soon as you start sort of seeing your times drop and you start slowing down and all that, I'm just like, that's me done that.
Well, other things in life become priority, don't they?
Yeah, of course.
So I was a bit the same, done all that in ponies, my mum said somebody switched me at the age of 16 because I literally come back a different person. I went out to my first night out, obviously really underage, and come back, and that was it then. I was all for going out, not for the sport. I think obviously it's my sport. That show jumping was so expensive as well. I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with swimming. I can imagine competitions that I know the training and stuff as well. It's just so expensive. So it was just a case of, well, other things are more interesting now, so seeing a bit. And I think it's only as you get older that you actually realise how important it is to actually be in sport for loads of reasons, physical, mental as well, and it gives you something like you were saying before, like, it gives you a little bit of a purpose, doesn't
Yeah,
it? So getting back into something like we've both got running, and I know that you do a little bit of swimming as well now.
Yeah, that only came back really when I obviously got injured myself. Not long before my last marathon, really. It was just a case of I couldn't run, and I thought I need to do something. So I got back at pool. I always hated it. It was a case of once I'd finished, trunks, goggles, kickboard, the works went in the bin, and that was me done with swimming. I'd had enough. And I only went back because I sort of had to. And then when I got back in, I thought, I quite like this.
Do you know, for swimming, for me though, I'd be that person that gets in with like two Veruca socks because I just don't like standing on the wet.
Oh no,
that's me. I definitely have Veruca socks on.
Veruca socks, like, I'm not for shame to wear Veruca socks.
And I would have the full hat on as well.
Full shebang.
Yeah, I can't be getting the weave wet, can I? God.
I don't have a weave.
Can't be getting the chlorine on the weave, you know. It's one of them. It's an absolute hassle. I would love to get into swimming though.
Yeah.
Just for cross training.
Yeah, cross training purpose. I find it massively beneficial. It's going to be really interesting from my point of view. Where obviously we're both in a marathon block at the minute, aren't we? How that has made a difference in this next time round. We'll just see what we get up to with that.
So rewind for me.
Go on.
Rewind.
I'm getting told off here.
No. I know I'm a No, we're not going to tell you off. Not today.
Rewind.
Good. Rewind.
Go on.
So just take me back and you've spoke about your background and your swimming and everything. Take me back. What got you back into the running?
Oh God, long story. So
I'm here for it.
Here for it. So that big gap between swimming and running was basically filled with weight training. Typical thing. Late teens and all that, you got to look good when you're going out and all that.
Gotta be big.
Got to fill
big muscles.
Got to fill a
flex.
shirt and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, bit of sunshine comes out, top off. That's
got,
what us Northerners doing.
Absolutely. You've got to go and do Iron Day before you go out around town and stuff like that. Basically, that was it. So I started weight training, and to be fair, I got in a half decent shape, and I was a lot bigger than I am now. But the usual thing went into lockdown, and I was eating the same but wasn't obviously training because of the gyms and stuff. So decent shape-ish, went to being a bit chunky and chubby face and
consuming
chubby belly and all
calories
that, calorie counting and all this type of stuff. And then my wife found that she was pregnant on the Christmas Eve, so I'd spoke to a mate of mine who's a PT, Brad Lawrence, if you need him, hit him up. He's a good lad. I said to him, look, this is my crack. I've got
a bit of promo there.
Yeah, go on, Brad. If you're listening, mate. I said, look, I've got obviously 9 months or what have you. I said, I want to make sure I'm in decent shape with baby around, so I'm not that typical fat dad type thing, chunky dad. Fat dad. So he'd done all my online coaching and all that type of stuff, and I was using the gym that we had at work. And he says, we need obviously so many minutes of cardio. And I said, well, we've got a treadmill at work and I can go for runs, but I don't really like running. And he says, right, we'll do that. And every week when I had to do my cardio, I hated it. I thought, do I have to do this? And I blag it. And
How much cardio were you doing?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't doing anything nowhere near what I'm doing now. And every so often he'd set me like a 5k time trial and he used to knock me sick. I'm like, do I have to do it? And he was like, yeah, 5k.
I mean, they still knock you sick, but
Still
they're faster pace.
And I was coming in around 25 minutes and it was killing me, and I felt sick after. I thought, why does anyone do this for fun? Like, this is just weird. So I'd done all that. I'd gone from, I think it was about 15.5 stone to about 12 stone. I thought, all right, I feel comfortable and stuff now. So then,
no fat dad syndrome.
No fat dad, no. So I stopped with Brad, and he knew that was the script and all that. So I stopped doing that with Little and turned up, and I tried getting back into going to the gym, and I just couldn't make it fit with obviously how long I work and getting home and helping Mrs. look after Little and all that. I couldn't have the time to travel to the gym, train, travel home. So I said, look, for a bit, I'm just gonna run, just for stay out. I don't like it, but I'm just gonna stay out. So I started just plodding, and I remember chatting to my dad because he's into his run. I said,
just remind me what your plod pace is, though. I'm just gonna
no.
Just then, as we start off. What was your plod pace back then?
To be fair, actually, back then...
Because you're still quite quick at plod pace.
Yeah, no, to be fair, plod didn't actually exist back then.
Did it not?
It was full tilt every time, because I thought that's how it was supposed to be.
As all runners do, we all start off.
We all do it, so it was 5k, 10k, balls out. And again, I hated that feeling at the end. I felt sick and all this type of stuff. And I ended up going with my dad, who does a bit of running. And he says, I'm going for a 10 miler. said, are you joking? He said, I can't run 10 mile. I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to go for a 10 mile. I said,
so your dad was showing you up at this point?
If your dad's doing it, like, go on then. So I said, all right, I'll come with you. And obviously my dad's a little bit slower than me, but he's 61, like, what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean...
And I went with him.
Give him a bit of credit, Christ.
And it was dead social, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, I get it. I get what people get out of it now. Like, I'd spent whatever it was, an hour or so out with my dad and just having a chat and all that type of stuff. And I thought, I finally get it. Do you know what I mean? I've been banging on the door for ages, going, just let me in. Like, I don't get what people get out of this running stuff. And then I'd gone for this 10 mile with my dad, had a bit of a chat, come back, didn't really feel like I was knackered or anything like that. I thought, this is it. And it was, honestly, it was like brainwave. Do you know what I mean? It was like a switch had gone off in my head, and I was like,
penny
I'm now going to do a marathon. And then within a week, I booked 3 marathons, and then that was it. Then the rest is
3 marathons.
Yeah, because I don't do things by heart. So it was like, oh, I'll book Manchester because it's my local one.
That was your first one?
Yeah, so Manchester was my first.
When was that?
Last April, was it?
So April 2022?
Yes.
That was your first one?
That was my first one, and then I did Edinburgh Marathon 7 weeks later.
Which is not advisable.
Not advised. And especially in my profession, it's not advised.
Yeah, but don't do
it. don't do it.
What is that saying? Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
You often use that one with me, though.
Yeah, that's 100%. So basically, my background is in sort of sports injuries.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's how we met. You come to see us and stuff like that. And I live by that mantra of do as I say, not as I do. Because there's a lot of things I do which I would go ape shit at someone for doing.
Just reminding you of that.
That was one of them. So I did Edinburgh, and then I did Yorkshire Marathon was my last one in October, just gone, 22.
So what did you do Manchester in?
3:14.
What did we?
3:14.
3:14, and what did we do Edinburgh in?
I did Edinburgh in 3:11.
And then your York one?
My York one was 3:14, but it was a bit of an anomaly because I'd not trained for 6 weeks because of my car.
Yeah, because you'd got injured before that one.
So that was on one leg.
Yeah, hobbled.
And I felt that one. I felt that.
Oh, he struggled.
Oh, did Jesus. I struggle? I needed pulling out of bed the morning after. It was horrific. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Manchester this time to see what a full healthy training block can do.
And what's the goals then now? If you've done that in 2022, obviously everyone sets brand new goals for New Year, New Me, all that bullshit. Like, I don't do New Year, New Me. I just set,
standard
better
goal.
me.
Better me.
Let's go for a bit of a better goal.
Yeah.
Where can we push ourselves?
The main goal for me, without doubt, has got to be sub 3.
Sub 3?
Sub 3.
Easy.
So I'd love to go sub 3. And like we were talking about normal people before, and you probably said when you chat to people, oh, sub 3 is not normal and all this stuff. Well, I'm well aware that I've said people in marathons in 5, 6. So anyone who runs is a runner. We always say this. And whether you're doing a sub 3, a 2:40, or a 5:30, you've still done it.
Yeah.
So you've still signed that paper when I'm doing a marathon, and you've still run it. Whether it's 5k part run a weekend, you've still done one.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's the main one for me. Sub 3.
Sub 3.
I'd not be very.
Manchester.
Yeah, it's got to be up the Northern Runners, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Manchester over London.
Do Manchester proud.
Come on, Manx.
Yeah, and then after that, have we got any longer term goals? So that's the block that you're in now, isn't it?
Yeah. So what we're now?
12 weeks out.
13 weeks out. So that's what I'm in now.
We've got Trimble though.
God,
Trimble 20 miler, his favourite race.
No.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Trimble 20 is no, it's not. It's 20 mile. It's usually your longest run, isn't it? 20 mile.
It's about 4 or 5 week out from Manchester.
And it weren't last year. You did it last year, didn't you? And it was like 3 week out. But it's 5 week out this year, which is better for the taper. So I think that's like 8-9 weeks, and then 12 weeks to Manchester. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Danielle keeps trying to drag me in.
No, you're going to pace me. That's the thing.
I'm not doing Trimble. End up.
Yeah, pace me.
Trimple's brilliant in terms of timing and all. I get that, but for anyone who's done it, it's the most boring run on the planet.
Disagree.
It's
dead
horrific.
scenic. It's down the canal.
It's not scenic at all. No, it isn't.
It's down the canal and it's flat.
You run outside of Tesco at one point.
It's flat. Who cares? It's flat.
You end up going outside of Tesco. You end up going around a farm. I got snotted
Exactly.
at by a horse last time I did it. You go round the back of
That
this
was just
farm.
me passing you.
Is that what it was? I actually saw you.
You
now
did. We did a little high five.
So you end up getting snotted on by a horse. You end up running down like a wagon thing, don't you?
Yeah.
You go all the way to the end. You get round this little
Go
duck
back
track,
round.
and there's a woman at the end in an RV jacket with a brick up floor, and she goes, "Just run round this, love, and back the opposite way." And I'm like, "I've run all the way down this road to run
Back.
run round a brick. Like, what's the point?"
But as with anything, running is mind over matter, and your chimp just does not like trimple.
Doesn't like Trimple.
But
It's not
your
happening.
human would like it because logistically it's flat.
I
It's a
just do
good
it all.
time out,
I'll just run round Glorious Wigan. It's fine.
but it's not in competitive scenes
Oh, I
like
can
what
make
you.
it competitive. I can make it competitive. I don't need other people to do that. I can make it competitive. So, tell me about you then. So, what's your running story? What got you into it?
For me, I don't know. I think before lockdown, if I go back that far, I did a few. I was having PTs from Sam,
Right.
SME.
Yeah.
Just dropping
Shout
it in
out.
there. Shout out to Sam.
Well, Sam.
So I was having PTs with Sam, and she said about doing some cardio, like Brad had done, just to keep. It's more steps in it.
Yeah.
The more you move, the more calories you burn, and so on and so forth. So I started doing like a couple of 5Ks, and then we went into lockdown.
Yeah.
Obviously 5K, like I still like to walk a little bit in between, but it doesn't matter because, as you said before, if you run,
Runners
even
are
if you
runners.
walk, you're a runner.
Yeah, of
So,
course,
I mean, I was doing it at this point in Nike Shocks. Okay, right.
Just
So this is
anything.
the level I was at, right? So then we went into lockdown, and then I entered a 5K at Heaton Park.
It's a tough one, though.
Yeah, and it was on the day of Manchester Marathon, but the Manchester Marathon in 21 was in October because of COVID, because
Yeah.
they'd knocked it back, hadn't they?
Yeah.
So my friend was running the marathon, so I'd done the 5K in the morning. I've never been slow. I was always like fastest girl in school,
Yeah.
and so I was more of a sprinter,
Right.
which, if you look at my physique, like my legs are built like a sprinter's leg.
Right.
They're not like the skinniest of things,
Not
you
like
know.
mine.
No, well, yeah, not like yours, you know.
90% leg over here.
So I did that 5K, and then we thought, oh, we'll just go, like, we're at Heaton Park, we'll just nip
Yeah.
into Manchester and support. It's my friend's husband. So yeah, Sean. Hi, Sean. You were a bit of my inspo as well.
Hi, Sean. Don't know who Sean is, but hello.
So yeah, I went and watched him. Seen a few other people who, a girl that I used to show jump with, again all them years, Gemma. She flew past at like 3 hours 30 in that one. So I've seen her as well. I've seen a few people that I knew, PTs and stuff. So I'd seen them come in at really good times. And you know, when you just stood there and like this, there was this man, right? So I'm stood on the railings watching, and there was this man next to me with his wife, and he's going, "Go on, Mark. Go on, Abby. Go on this." And I was like, God, he must have loads of runners in his club. Like, who's he? Like, and I'm thinking, well, I didn't realise I've got the bloody names on the
names on 'em.
bibs. This is how novice I am.
Yeah.
So I didn't even realise, because obviously at Heaton Park, you don't have your name on your bib, you're just a number,
Just a number.
which that's because of funds and stuff like that. So at Manchester, you have your name, and I'm thinking, blooming, it only penny drops, stood there half an hour thinking, oh yeah, they've got the names on the
knows
bloody
everyone,
bibs.
this lad.
I know, yeah, 50 people's names down. And I just thought, do you know what? How nice is that? Because like
It's mint.
humans, yeah, because I am one, I can say it. We're not usually that nice, are we, to other
No, we're
people,
not.
to strangers?
Yeah,
And
we're not.
do you know, like these strangers cheering strangers on, and then like there was people collapsing as you. Well, if you've ever been to a marathon, wow, like it was an
Bodies
eye opener. I mean,
everywhere.
if it's gonna put you off,
Yeah.
then it would do at that
Stand
point.
at the end if you're going to put it on.
There were people tripping up over balloons, and like this is when they've got jelly legs. These people like where the legs just like full on collapse. There's people being sick and still trying to run on that finish line, and everyone is cheering. And I just thought, wow, that's so inspiring to see. I thought, I want a bit of that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
thought I'll enter.
Get me involved.
Yeah, get me involved. So I started. So I entered for the 2022 April one, which was one
It was
you've
only
done.
a few months after, wasn't it?
Yeah, and genuinely didn't realise what sort of commitment it entailed. Me being me, again, the professional sort of side of things, thought I need a coach because I do not even know where to start because I was just running 5Ks, I'm walking a little bit. I wasn't doing any sort of particular route because obviously now we do like undulating, we do hills and stuff like that. I wasn't doing anything like that. I was just running around walk.
It's just one massive hill, isn't it?
Yeah, well, so, massive. I mean, it's great because obviously people travel for hills sometimes.
The word flat doesn't come into it. Really,
yeah, so just did that and then found a coach. So I actually went back to Gemma.
Yeah.
I said, who does your coaching and stuff? And she put me on to Kieran, Kieran O'Donnell. So he then started coaching me, but he wouldn't take me on at first. Because, and do you know what? It makes more sense now, down the line, because he was like, we need to get on. I need to see commitment. Yeah. Just loads of other things, because obviously, you know what people are like, oh, it's snowing, can't go out. Yeah. Oh, Auntie May's coming round. I've got to have a brew and cake with her. Like, any excuse not to. Again, the chimp. Tells him I love the chimp. I just love throwing the chimp in. But yeah, so he was a bit thingy at first. And then he said to me, right, we'll do till Christmas. And if you do what I say till Christmas, I'll take you on. Right. Well, maybe me. Yeah. I am like the most... I swear I have like a little bit of autistic traits in there because I am...
You're just a bit robotic.
Yeah, I just love structure. So anything that he said, I did. And there were a few people who said like, oh, you won't stick to this. Yeah. Pardon?
I love that though, mate.
Pardon?
That's one thing that really fires me up.
Yeah, I just thought...
you can't do it, or you won't do it, or you can't do it.
Yeah.
That just sends a rocket off in my head. That's like, right, well, do you know what, mate? I'm going to show you. You can't do that. What are you doing that for? You're not going to do it. Right,
and that actually sticks in my head, like, you won't stick to this. As well, after the marathon in April 22 that I'd booked for, that was to keep me on track for a holiday that was going on in May. So I thought, brilliant.
Standard way to get shredded.
Get myself shredded, and it was with a big group of people. I thought, well, I don't want to be like the chunky one on holiday, you know, girls, the bodies and stuff like that. I thought I want to be in good shape. It'll keep me on track. So entered the marathon, did what Kieran had told me to do. Went and did all my runs that he'd said, and obviously he said by Christmas you need to be up to 13 miles, like half marathon, just to be in with any sort of chance of actually running a marathon and being able to do it properly. And I don't think people realise like that, you know, what mileage you have to do. So I was up to that, and then do you remember what was that storm called? Eunice, is it called Storm Eunice?
Something like that, yeah.
So, do you remember me running Blackpool?
Yeah, because I was out when you drove past me, didn't you?
So, a bit before that, that's when obviously Kieran was saying you need to put things in place, physio, blah, blah, hence why I met you. So, we're still quite new, to be fair, but obviously we just get on like a house on fire because we've got common ground and similar personalities. And similar goals as well, like we're always striving to do better. It's obviously we're quite new, but it's still like we bounce off each other with stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think there's the odd time I think we like almost slow you down, or you were like, come on, get on with it. I'm probably a little bit more laid back than you, going, just do whatever. It'd be like, oh, I need to do a speed session tonight, and you'd be like, what are you doing? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like structure.
I'll decide when I get there type thing. Yeah. But you're like, no, I'm doing this at this pace, not that pace. I'm going to have 14 milliseconds rest, and then I'm going to do this at that pace. It's like,
aim to please. I just like doing exactly what I'm told.
I'll do what Kieran tells me to do.
Yeah, I was honestly, same in school, I was like the SWAT. So that's just followed on now. And then I did, obviously met you, done Blackpool, was being blown away. That was a half marathon. That was in Feb. I think that's actually coming up soon as well. And then, not really done any. I don't think I did any other races other than Trimble.
I don't think you did you?
No, I don't think so.
No, because you did that, and then I think you were at Trimble, weren't you?
And then I got really poorly.
Yeah.
And the diva in me come out, and I was so poorly. The Monday of the marathon week, I was dying. I had my head over a bucket of Vicks. I had Olbas on me. I was sleeping with Vicks on my feet with socks. I was doing every magic trick.
So you need a hot toddy and all that type of stuff.
In the book to get me better. I thought, wow, I have done all this training. Are you mad that I'm not,
Just gone out the window.
Yeah.
And that does happen, and this is what...
Well, what's it
the
called?
Whole thing,
Maranoia.
Yeah. This is what the whole point of our podcast is about. This is what happens to real people.
Yeah, normal people.
This is normal. This is exactly what we're on about. Because if this happens to an athlete, you never hear about it.
No.
Because they just don't run. You don't hear about it. You only really see... Or
what
to be fair, some of them are quite open, actually. When they've had a bad run or whatever, they'll open about it. But you'll see top-end athletes and they're flying and the PB and they're smashing this and they're smashing that, smashing the other. And everyday people get this type of stuff where week before a marathon or week before a half or whatever it might be, they get ill. And they have fun, and then they run poorly and they don't run well, and then it's scared them for life. I'm never running again and all this type of stuff. And it is just what happens. They get injured because they've not got the sort of team behind them to prevent them.
I actually got injured.
Yeah.
So despite me putting things in place, I picked up tendonitis.
Yeah.
Again, just going back to my little chubby side. I was probably on the chubbier side, and even though I was through COVID, I'd stopped obviously PTs and stuff, money, other things, financial commitments. It was just so hard. And then I'd been with a couple of other PTs, and they just weren't Sam.
Right. Okay.
So I had to go on bended knee, like, please, will you take my bag?
Yeah.
Please, like, I want a PT with you. You know, she does go the extra mile and stuff. So went crawling back to Sam, and even though from January 22 I'd started back with her, it was still very much work was the most important thing. Yeah. I was doing my runs around work, but it was all work. So like food, which obviously we'll come on to that topic, but I was having like my protein, say a protein bar in the morning, and then I probably wouldn't eat, and then I wouldn't measure what I was eating, and I'd think, well, I'm running anyway, so I'll just have a massive bowl of pasta. So I actually wouldn't, right?
That's proper like...
Yeah, just have a big bolognese, why not?
Just bad knowledge. Yeah, I love pasta, I'll do.
Yeah,
keep it dry.
Yeah, because you've got you running, so you can have loads of carbs.
Yeah,
God. So that was sort of my mentality, which is really naive and probably really relatable to a loads of people who are going to listen to this.
Yeah. Loads of people. We're getting loads of listeners.
We're going viral.
We're getting loads
of listeners. We're going viral on TikTok.
I don't think we'll last spotted. Hi, Dad.
So yeah, your dad's cool.
Yeah,
your dad's faster than you anyway.
He's quicker than me.
So I just wasn't losing the weight, and I wondered why I wasn't losing the weight, because I was doing all these miles. I was doing like stupid amount of miles. I've never done as much cardio in my life as what I'd done in that. Well, I'm doing it now, but I mean, in that instance, I was like, wow, what's going on? Did the marathon, and wow, then pictures come back, and I look like Thumb on the Run, right? I am not joking.
Thumb on the Run, I've not heard that before.
My neck like blended into my face. I mean, it still does now because genetics is genetics,
just
but at least I got a
chin.
little bit of a chisel here now.
One whole chin.
It was one full chin, right? And I looked, and I think I'm like this on one of the pictures, but like fully like. Meh.
I know which picture of it. Tongue was out and everything.
I hate myself. Why do I look like that?
Yeah.
Like,
to be fair,
awful.
Running pictures aren't flattering. You actually become, this is the point, the more events you do, the better you become at knowing where the photographers are.
Yeah, because you put your chin down and look forward.
Everything's like, boom, I know you're on my left.
I'm here.
I know you're on my left, but I'm just going to stir forward and look dead cool.
And glasses are the way with photos,
glasses
as we can see.
As you can see, it was sunny though, to be fair. You're running around Wigan on that one, it's not sunny. I was actually in Yorkshire, it was quite nice.
It was a little bit sunny, but, you know.
Sunglasses.
Yeah, look like Robocop.
I've not got the head for sunglasses. I just needed them because I was getting blinded.
Yeah, but look how coordinated we are.
Oh, mate, coordination.
So coordinated.
Running fashion is another topic for another day.
I think food and stuff was a massive thing that I learned, along with, obviously, like you'll know from your side of things and your background is the tendonitis might not have happened, or you know, could have been maybe prevented if I'd have had more protein in it, and which Sam had put in, and I weren't listening because the penny hadn't dropped with the full thing. I had all these pieces of the jigsaw, probably a little bit overwhelmed with, because I just thought, do you know what, running, I just need a pair of gigs, my AirPods, and off we go. Like,
and that's
absolute lies, people, lies. It's very expensive.
It is really expensive. And it can be that. It can be if you just want to go for a bit of a shuffle round the block or whatever it is, and you do just want to go and get active and whatever. That can totally be running. You can just do that. But if you want to start taking it to the next level and you want to start progressing and you want to start doing this, you want to start doing that.
It's when you get the addiction.
Yeah, when you get bitten by the running bug.
Yeah.
It does require them. You need to see someone sports injury related, performance side of things, PT, nutrition, all that type of stuff. But I mean, that's how you've got to go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
that's what happened to my friend. So the guy that I went watching in October finished his marathon. I think he did it in 5 hours something. I think he got injured a few weeks before, so he'd not been doing like loads of mileage and stuff, and he's never ran since.
Yeah, you get it.
He's done. Like
I've prepped. No, I said prepped. I've worked with so many people training up for a marathon, and then they've done it, boxed off, done, finished, and they've been fully scarred by it. And it's like never doing that ever. And it's just because they've not prepared properly for it, and they've run on tired legs, or they've gone off too quick and the pace has dropped like a stone. They've not ate well. They've been on the beer or whatever a few days before. Do you know, all these little standard mistakes and stuff like that, and then it's just killed them off, and you just go, never doing that ever again.
Or you get the opposite. Whereas, to be fair, I was really poorly on that week. I still did the marathon nowhere near as quick as you, because I was a right chunk and I've not small legs, so that's my excuse. Okay. All right, just give me a little bit of leeway.
Right, fair enough.
It's
all about leg length.
Yeah, we're on a bit leg length.
All it is. You've got long legs, you're saying.
So I did mine in 4:06. The last 10k killed me. Killed me every time I tried to get, because I'd had obviously it'd been on my chest and stuff. As soon as I tried to get back, I think it was 9-minute mile pace that I was doing, ish. As soon as I tried to get back to the pace that I wanted, just this thing of sick was here in my throat. And I remember stopping and thinking, I can't do this. And I'd be texting and I'd keep going, and I'd be like, I can't do it, and I'd try, and it was just so horrible. And I'd done all the fueling, because obviously we've still got to touch on that. There's so many stuff like gels. I'd done, I was going past people and people were like cramping on the side and like they looked like they were dying, and I'm still fine. It's just I had to shuffle. So I finished that race, literally looked like a cripple. My hip, my tendon, I was just dead. Like, it was like a really, really bad thumb. Let's go back to the thumb, because that's what I was like. And this, within an hour of me getting to the car, I'd booked for Manchester 2023. So I was back in because I'd got the bug.
The buzz is
I weren't put off.
Buzz. And it's the whole thing of, how do you know someone's done a marathon before? Because they'll tell you, and all that type of stuff. Because it is such a good feeling. And you've achieved something that not many people
1%.
achieve. 1%. That's the whole thing in it. The 1%. 1% of people on the planet have done, and all that type of thing. You've achieved something that is an ancient thing. It's come from ancient Greece and all that type of stuff. It's a really old task of endurance. So you get this sort of massive reward feeling. You get this huge buzz, don't you? And
nothing comes close to it.
Nothing comes close to it. No, and if you try and talk to someone who's never done it, they just go, "What are you on about? Well whatever. You've gone. It was your choice. You've gone running around it." Like my best mate did that. He was supposed to come watching us, and I will call him out on it, and he'll not listen to this, so it doesn't matter. No.
I'd like to see if he does though. No,
I'll send it him. He can listen to it.
Well, what's his name?
Jake.
Hi, Jake.
Hi, Jake. So Jake, if you're listening, so Jake was coming to the marathon. Basically, he was coming because we were going out for a meal afterwards. So he was coming for food, and didn't see him at the finish. Didn't see him all the way around and all that. So he's my best mate. And got to the restaurant after, with my tired legs and my medal around my neck and all that, because obviously you show your medal to everyone you're walking past. And I said, said, oh, table for however many. And he says, oh, one of your party's already here. And he sat there with a pint with feet up. I said, oh, all right, are you? He says, yeah, how'd you get on? Yeah. It was, where were you? Oh, yeah, he said you were coming for a meal. I said, yeah, I know, but you're supposed to actually come and
cheer
me on, like, do you know what I mean? He said, oh, I've got your pint in. I said, thanks, yeah.
They just don't get it though, do they?
Yeah, and he said, well, you chose to do it. And I get that. I've chose to do it. I don't expect anyone to travel around the country watching me do stuff.
No.
I have chose to do it, and I get that's his thing. But what that sort of an example of is that's how a large portion of people think.
Yeah.
You've chose to do it. You choose to run, you choose to do so.
I think it's appreciation as well, because I know I've been guilty, like, you don't appreciate how much work goes into somebody getting your time at Manchester and Edinburgh, and you don't understand how much work they've done to be able to run at that speed for that long. Yeah. And it's only when you do it and you think, do you know what? Well done. Yeah. Because it's actually, hats off to you, how much dedication and stuff takes to actually complete a marathon in that time.
Yeah. And especially the people doing it, as we said before, around their lives. They're doing it around work, they're doing it around family life. They're getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, middle of winter when it's freezing, getting the miles and doing their hill sessions. The family members are sitting down at night watching telly, and they're like, right, I'm going to put shoes on and get out and do an hour. Yeah. And it's that people don't see. And then when they go, well, you chose to run a marathon, it's like, well, I did, but look how much work I put in to do it. And
as well, just on that, it's that last 10k of that marathon is make or break.
Yeah.
Right. So that last 100 metres, if you can see, you know your friends are on that line.
Yeah.
I was quite lucky. I had like 15 people. Like Sam come, Claire come as well. I had all my friends, Laura, Heather, Sean, who ran it. Yeah. We all went for a teppanyaki afterwards, and I'd ate none of it because I felt sick. Yeah. But knowing that they were there, and I seen like Lucas and Lucy and loads of people on the line coming up, and it was just wow. Yeah. Like, it gives you that spur of going on again. So it's nice to have people there just to cheer you on. You know, even though you have chose to do it, I go back to, it was Lytham on it. And Lytham. I was dying at Lytham, and you were there. Was it 200 metres out? And I literally had my head. Further than that. Was it?
So basically, I'd finished. Can I just say I'd done it? I had run it actually. I'd not just come watching.
Yeah.
Like I'd run it and I'd come back for you a bit.
You'd run it in 1:24 as well. So you'd run it at like an absolute rapid pace, and I literally looked up after, and I'll always like doing my last mile as the quickest. Yeah. Finish strong always, and I died through that bit, and I was so disappointed. And I looked up and you were there, and I was like, oh, yes. Just saving me, like, because I just knew that you'd be able to push me through that last bit, you know. And it is just about doing that, but nobody would understand that unless you did it.
Yeah, no, and that's it. It's the all running community in it, which again is something we will touch upon. But I think that's been a decent introduction of we've probably gone on a little bit longer than we thought we were going to. But
how long?
I know we were nervous as anything. I know. I'm just sweating and everything, but
chatted away.
I think it's a decent introduction of our backgrounds and where we're from, definitely. And hopefully where the podcast is going to go. What we probably said to everyone is get in touch if there's any sort of topics you want us to touch on, if there's any improvements or anything like that.
Yeah. What you want to hear?
What you want to hear?
Like
anything.
Said,
we're dead laid back. It's a bit like, well, let's have a chat.
Yeah.
Chat about running. We can talk about that.
Because you know what? Because you're normal, you probably have experienced it.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the struggles, like I say, especially from my point of view with food. And I think it's great that we've got a woman and a man on, because I can talk to you about the other side of things, of like struggles. Hormones and your 100%. Cycle and stuff like that, because for me that massively affects the
huge point I want to obviously touch on is I've been running as long as my son's been alive, basically, because that's when I started, and trying to run as a dad, basically, and trying to run as a dad full time.
You got a running buggy, didn't you?
I did. I've sold that.
Oh,
that's another story. I bought a running buggy. But yeah, things like that. That's one of a massive topic I want to touch on, because you just expected to go to work, look after little and put him to sleep, and then putting a load of weight sat on couch.
Yeah.
It's just not me. But yeah, I think that's a good intro into us, the Northern Runners.
Tune in next time, guys.
Yeah, see how we go.
See how we go.